the merger or deal really provides that opportunity for really three really influential decentralized leaders to start to create a powerful, really compelling alternative to big tech's control really over AI development to this point. And of course, use and monetization and things like that. So,
welcome back, everybody, to another episode of WagmiTV. We have a fun one for you today. We are talking AI projects. We have a massive token merger, project merger that it has basically initiated today, July 1st. And so we have Fetch.ai, Singularity Net, also known as AGIX for the token, as well as Ocean Protocol merging to become one of the largest AI research and development companies in the world. We're going to cover everything you need to know about it, as well as what this actually means for Fetch, price action, and where it could be headed in the future. As a reminder, this is not financial advice, right? Do your own research. This is for entertainment purposes only. But with that being said, we're going to kick it over to Mata for a little bit of background.
Yeah, definitely. So as Sia kind of alluded to, right, it's what's going to be called the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance, so ASA. So really a collective, again, comprising of Singularity Net, Fetch AI, Ocean Protocol, and again, today they announced that significant portion of their timeline, essentially phase one, and really updating all of their tokens, merging them together and becoming ASI, which is the new token that is going to be coming out of this. So the real goal of this, right, is to become really that largest open source independent entity when it comes to AI research and development, right? I think AI has been a very big hotspot, and what they're trying to do is kind of combine all of their resources together. So the alliance, if you will, really aims to accelerate really not just the advancement of AGI and ASI, or artificial superintelligence, but mostly the advancement of the decentralization of these two concepts, right? So the merger or deal really provides that opportunity for really three really influential decentralized leaders to start to create a powerful, really compelling alternative to big tech's control really over AI development to this point. And of course, use and monetization and things like that. So the merger itself, or the token merger, facilitates those combos of those thought leaders in the research and development of AGI, which are I believe it's the CEO of Fetch, and then two other players from obviously Ocean Protocol and Singularity as well. So again, how do we advance the path to development of this technology and this very key technology for our future? But how do we advance that on the blockchain specifically? Right. So I think the whole idea of this is they essentially need to come together in order to combat big tech, or to really advance what this space looks like. So that's really the idea behind this. I know we're going to go into some of the timeline a little bit here too, for those that are holding Fetch, those who are holding Ocean, those who are holding AGIX, etc. But that's kind of the overall background and what just got kicked off today.
Yeah, I think it's some really interesting stuff, and I think like one of the coolest points is focusing on open source and decentralized AI, right? Where I think from the start, OpenAI and ChatGPT, that was the kind of the vision of it, but it didn't go that way. And I think Ev was mentioning before, the only really open source model right now is Meta AI from Facebook. So it'll be interesting to see, how this kind of plays out, and if they can truly keep it open source and decentralized, and what does it actually look like? Does the marketplace actually, respond to that? So I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, and I think the key distinction there is that a lot of those models are open source after they've been trained already. So essentially, you can create your own variation of that LLM, but you're not getting access to the underlying data that Facebook is training that on. Or I think we saw a couple of weeks ago Apple announcing that they would open source some of their models. You don't get access to that data here. If you're working off of the Fetch AI system or other systems like Render, like we've talked about, you're actually getting access to this data. And so I think that's a key distinction between some of the stuff that you see in Web3 versus Web2, is that you get more access to the underlying systems than what you might in some of these big tech LLMs.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think it's really the same concept that we talk through with blockchain in crypto in general, right? Like, how is this any different than big tech? I mean, it is the decentralization portion, right? It is the data ownership, right, that we've talked about. It's the transparency that you get from being on chain or utilizing the blockchain in general. I think, of course, there's some things that it's a really bold move, right? There's some things that could potentially go wrong, right? You think about three different, very complex projects trying to come together. So there's going to be a lot of technical hurdles. There probably will be some integration challenges. I know one thing that we discussed before we hopped on the call today was just token uncertainty, right? Like, what exactly did the new tokenomics look like of ASI? Obviously, they're all merging into Fetch. What does this do for the supply of a token like that, right? So there's all those pieces, and then I think the last piece is really interesting, right? Crypto is very community based, right? Everyone gets really backed and really behind some of their coins, right? Would really love to understand the response from the different communities of these different token holders, right? If someone really supported Fetch, maybe they were like, I'll never use Ocean. I don't like Ocean for this reason, that reason, etc. They're all AI plays, but there was a reason some of these folks got into some of these different areas. So some of these individuals might be kind of apprehensive about that merger and really the value of their holdings, of course, in the token, and then what this actually looks like from a governance structure and really bringing all these pieces together. So definitely a really bold move. I think there are a lot of reasons to be bullish on it, right? Obviously, they combine a lot of their strengths together. They have three thought leaders in the space that are really going to come together. They have increased resources because of that merger. You would hope that this kind of builds a bigger or stronger market position because three big players are coming together. And then, of course, the decentralization portion of it. But there's a lot of kind of yellow flags, I would say, where you kind of have to wait and see how some of this unrolls and unfolds, as we kind of see with a lot of these movements in tech in general, but of course in crypto as well. So a lot of pros, a lot of cons, and a lot of like, hey, we might need to wait to see exactly what happens with it. But what are your guys' thoughts on any of that? I mean, especially the community portion. That's something that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think something we saw in the NFT space maybe a year or two ago was there was a lot of mergers between projects, essentially certain projects acquiring others. I'm interested to see. I know this always gets branded as, hey, these projects are merging, but is Fetch really doing the acquiring for the tech, for the community? You know, what are they in this for? And then, yeah, on the other side, like how much does Singularity and Ocean still want to play a major role once this alliance is, put together? So, yeah, I'm interested to see that portion. Also interested to see if this kicks off, maybe a potential rise of acquisitions and mergers in the crypto space. I feel like this is the first I've heard of, or maybe the most recent I've heard of, where it's really this size of, top 100 tokens merging, projects merging. And so I'd be interested to see if like this continues to happen because, whether at the end of the day, the community is the strongest when it's the biggest. And so merging these communities strengthens the alliance. But yeah, interested to see if this happens in other areas of crypto as well.
Yeah, I think over time it's definitely going to strengthen it. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of a shakeout. We've already seen that in some of the price action in all three of these projects. And I think that comes from, people just being uncertain, right, of like what the tokenomics are going to look like. They've released some of the conversion numbers, and so we have an understanding of kind of how the tokens are going to be converted over. But there's always uncertainty when it comes to mixing tokenomics and, technically inflating one of the currencies, right? If you're going to bring over tokens from Ocean and Singularity Net over to Fetch, then obviously ultimately into ASI. And I think other people like have had bad experiences, right? So I think it's going to take a little bit to shake out. But again, if you believe in crypto AI or AI crypto, I think that over time, this could be a decent bet.
Yeah, I think with anything within the crypto space that's kind of trying to take a decentralized or open source approach, it's better is really relative, right? It kind of just depends on your priorities, right? I think to that point, if you value, open access and data ownership and transparency, then, maybe something like ASI or some of these AI cryptos are more appealing. But I think the flip side of that same coin is if, a proven technology and immediate scalability and use cases are really your main concern, of course, that big tech AI might still be dominant here for a while. So I think to your point, it is a little bit of a wait and see from that perspective. And just to kind of share some of what we saw as well as far as the timeline goes, just to kind of update folks, and we'll put this in the description below as well. But really, again, phase one just started July 1. So whether you're listening to this on July 2nd, I'm not quite sure, but pretty much today, right? This week, if you will. And this is really where AGIX and Ocean essentially are being merged into Fetch, right? I think one little interesting point that we skipped over a little bit was that Coinbase kind of threw a little bit of a wrench into this. Of course, I think what these founders have said is we're moving forward with it, but Coinbase really isn't supporting it. Really, the way that will actually happen at the end of this, they'll have to swap Fetch from Coinbase via some sort of custodial wallet, whether that's Coinbase wallet or some other wallet, which will then have to be initiated by those token holders to actually migrate that to ASI token. The good thing is that'll be compatible with all major software wallets, so nothing really to be concerned about as far as getting that ASI token if you hold any of these three. But of course, it's an interesting concept when you say, okay, Coinbase, one of the biggest players in the space, is not supporting this, right? It's an interesting start into a lot of this. But I know we mentioned conversion rates, right, specifically to Fetch. So AGIX tokens, you can see one AGIX will be about 0.43 FET. And then the Ocean token, one of those will also be right around 0.43 FET as well. So again, everyone's kind of merging into Fetch right now. And then that phase two is actually moving Fetch and transferring that to the ASI token, which will be a 1-to-1 conversion once it's to that spot. But any thoughts on the timeline or anything like that, fellas?
No, I think the one thing I would love to know is, more of the technical side. I think there's been a lot of news about the exchange rates and how the tokenomics is going to work out, but I'd love to hear how this merger, this acquisition is going to affect the tech. And, I think I've seen a few different articles around the different products like Delta 5 and some of the other ones that Fetch.ai has. But yeah, I think that's my biggest question mark is, what big changes are coming down the road.
Yeah. And I'd love to know the tokenomics of that change too, as well. I haven't been able to find that. Obviously, I think we could do a lot more digging ourselves, and we'll probably do an update on this specifically. But obviously, it's the big news we wanted to get out to everybody. But yeah, I think there's a lot of question marks around it for sure. Sia, sorry to cut you off there.
No, you're good. I think, like, to both of your points, like getting a little bit more insight into the plan as far as tokenomics goes is going to be really, really helpful, because a lot of people are obviously making the decision based on how it's going to affect their wallet. Like, as much as we love to believe everyone's in it for the tech, like everyone wants to make money. So if they don't believe that the tokenomics are going to be favorable, they're probably going to just dump it. And, one of the things that I'm curious about is, like, how did they come up to the 0.43 conversion rate when, Ocean Protocol has half the market cap of Singularity Net? I'm not really sure how that works. They all have similar-ish circulating supply. Like, they're all over 1 billion circulating supply, Fetch being like 2.5. But at the same time, it'll be interesting to see the rationale behind that. I think they're due for a nice little Twitter Spaces or something like that to kind of explain it all. So awesome. Well, I think that does it for this episode, guys. We want to keep you guys updated as much as we can on this merger. As we get more information, we'll bring it up to date, particularly on the tokenomics and price action as well, and then what the team has planned moving forward. But like, comment, subscribe if you found this valuable, and we'd love to hear in the comments. Are you, do you hold one of these projects, right? Like, are you excited? Are you nervous about it? We'd love to hear your thoughts. So until next week, WagMe.